Hey guys, so today we got a 2000 Ford Ranger. It's an XLT extra cab, and we're going to replace the rear tail lights on here, and we're also going to replace the rear high brake light up on top. I can't see it right now on camera, so when I'll get you in here I'll show you more of a close-up. I did buy these on I believe it was eBay, so we did get them in. I went with the ones that look more like the stock ones. I tried to go with some of the ones that were like smoked or anything like that, but for some reason some of these years they just seem to I don't know what it was. It just seemed like it wasn't going to line up or something like that, or they didn't have them for this specific model. So I just decided to go just to the original ones that are a little bit brighter than what's on there now. Now these ones right here, some of on the ends, they're kind of starting to crack a little bit, and the other ones kind of have some scratches on it and stuff like that, so I want to go ahead and replace them. Now right here on the side there's a Phillips screw here, and there's another one over here. And then on the inside there's also two Phillips screws on the inside right here that are real easy to get to. Recommend probably using a drill to get them out, and then when you put them back in, if you have an adjustable drill, adjust that down to where it's not going to torque them down for you. And then just go ahead and tighten them down by hand on the outside. On the inside you can torque them with this right here. So go ahead and I'll bring you in and we'll get started. So now the first screw is going to be right here. Let's go ahead and make sure you have this so that you take it out. And be careful not to strip these screws. Now the new ones do not come with screws. Then there's another one down here. So you got to reuse these. So make sure you got a good tip on your drill here. The next two you want to remove will be one here and then one right here. Now these ones here are a different size, a different type of screw too. Next, what we want to do is we want to pull the light out towards the rear of the vehicle, and we're going to have two plugs there, one here and one there. Now the green plug is on the bottom. I believe you just twist it counterclockwise and then get it out. Same thing with the one on top, twist it counterclockwise and then get it out. And go ahead and grab your new tail lamp. Now if you want to replace the bulbs, you can go ahead and do so right now. All you do is just pull them out and then put them in, and then pull it out and put it back in. Not very complicated at all. So now the new lights do have like a cover here, so we'll leave the top cover. We're just going to remove this little sticker or whatever it is that it has on here. Take those two off. And then what we want to do is we want to look right here where the bulb, and it has like a fatter part right there, and just line that part up with the fatter part that's right here. That's right there. So we're going to go ahead and line that up. Once you got it in, turn it clockwise, lock it into place, and we'll do the same thing with the top one. Look for the area that has the larger tip on there, line that up. Sure it's in, turn it clockwise, lock it into place. And then when you're going to put it back in, there is a small little guide right here, and it has a small little guide here. So there's a hole here that lines up with this guide, so you want to make sure to line that up. Make sure you get your harness in there. Take that in there, and basically the light is in there. And now we want to put all our screws back on. Make sure to put those in by hand first. I'm noticing that there's quite a bit of a gap on the top of here. Then I'm seeing quite a bit of a gap along this top edge right here. Not so much along the side. And if you see here, like there's a gap right in there. Pretty big gap. If you look at the other side, there's no gap. This is real tight right up in here. So don't know if I have to do any kind of a modification on this to get this to go in a little bit more. We'll see. Let me take it back out and look. This was one of the other reasons that when I picked these lights out, I had read some good reviews on them, but obviously some people were lying, or it just was different. I don't know. Real unusual. Okay, something happened right there. As soon as I took that top bolt off, the gap closed up. So something's going on here. Maybe this thing here got moved or something, so I'm gonna see what's going on. Maybe it needs to be pushed in a little bit more. So it looks like the mounting hole is not lining up, because if I push it all the way in, there's no gap here. So this mounting hole right here, that hole right there is too far forward. It needs to be a little further back. See, is if that goes in, I want to make sure these other screws are going to line up as well. Let's try these first. I'm still getting some sort of gap along the top over here. It's not going in there. I mean, me not liking it. There's a pretty big gap all along the side over here. Like, I can close this gap up, which is no problem, but now I have a gap on this side, which is quite large. So I didn't have to drill that out. I just pushed it in and kind of put the screw in a little bit at an angle, and I did close the gap up here completely. You can see, I mean, I closed it up as much as I could. I'm still not liking the, if you look at the one on that side, it's pretty closed up. Look at the one on this side. There's a gap in there. Yeah, there's a gap. All the way up. There's a gap here. It's closed off right there, but then there's a gap all here. Yeah, that's not good, man. I'm not liking these lights. I would have to put some kind of a gasket on there. I'm gonna use our foam gasket, the black one that I found. Which is basically foam on one side and then it tapes to the other side. This is probably, looks to be about a 1/2 inch. Yeah, so it's about a 1/2 inch. And probably about a 1/4 of an inch thick. Now I do have this one, and I have this other one. This one is not as thick. This one's looks to be a little bit thinner, but I had a pretty big gap here, so I wanted to use this one. Earlier, I didn't show this, but I tried to use a different type of tape, but it was gray. I didn't like the way it looked, and I found this one that I had that was black. So on that side, which I'll show later in the video, I did it in 2 pieces because I actually did that side first. But in the video, it's going to be set up. It's going to be shown as like I'm doing it second time around, but I actually already did that side. So the first thing you want to do is take some alcohol and clean the area where you're going to put it. Now I just had to clean all the adhesive that I had because like I just said, I did put another different type of foam on there, but I didn't like the way it looked against the black. It looked really gray, so it kind of stood out. So you're not going to go all the way around, but you are going to go from here, and you're going to go like this into here. So now this stuff does come off. So we'll peel it. We're going to peel it back. I think I'll start right down here. So like on that side, I just basically went with the body line here. On the outside, I just went down to about here. Now if it's not lining up straight, you could take it back off and then reline it up. If you pull it tight, you could probably get it straight. It's pretty straight. Now, here's where it gets a little bit hard because you kind of don't know where this thing is really going to sit. So if we stick it on there, it's going to sit. I mean, if you wanted to mark it, you could probably mark it. If you had like a grease pencil or something, you could probably mark it. So then you kind of know like where you need to be. So like for me, I'm just going to put that up there like that, and I'm going to put that line. I'm going to say it's going to be something like just don't want the foam extending up higher than that. So this is just kind of like a guide. So if you see that right there, I can go from there down. So we're just going to go. Okay. Got it right on. Now we got a nice nice seal all the way around, laying down there right there. Now we just bolt it down. Now again, like I said earlier, we want to make sure that you put all the bolts in first, because since we put a gasket in there now, this is going to kind of push the lens out just a little bit. So these ones are the ones we have to be mindful of. The other ones, they're going to more than likely line up now because they're pushed out. Because the way the lens was made, that's what was giving it the gap. Well, now that this is covering up the gap, it's actually pushing it out, pushing their lens out just a hair, which is giving those inside screws. And these inside screws go in just perfectly now, whereas the holes were further in. And then I'm just going to tighten these outside ones down just a little bit more. As soon as they get snug, I'm stopping. Tape off, and those are done. No more gap there, and no more gap all the way around there. There we go. All right. Let's go ahead and take these screws off. I think it's the lens. And this lens is already cracked here, it's scratched up here. That's why I'm replacing it. So twist, take it off. The green one's always on the bottom. And then just make sure when you're putting the other ones on there, make sure that these are facing down. The little tubes that are in there. Water gets in there, I think it makes it come out. And if you look at these, this is the bottom, and they're facing, both sides curved are facing down. Now, anytime you're dealing with aftermarket products, you are going to run into some, excuse me, some kind of, sometimes you have to adapt stuff, or especially like fenders and. Okay. So remember, the green one goes on the bottom, not in the middle. I just tried to put it in. That's why it wouldn't go in. So now you know it won't go in the wrong one. That was almost operator error there. Yeah. Go on this side because I couldn't. Did? Go rubbing alcohol to clean it. Go like that. Let's see how trying to line it up as straight as possible with the lens. I can't put it in here on the lens because there's just not enough room. This is actually thicker than this and it'll stick out a lot. I don't want it sticking out. So I'm just trying to get it to, like, you got to keep test fitting it. I mean, that almost looks like a factory gasket. Honestly, it looks really, really good. Straight edge there. The good thing about this stuff is that you can reposition it as you take it off, put it back on. Ooh, that actually fit really good. And now these screws line up perfectly because it's pushing the light out a little bit. Important to kind of put all the screws in first and then tighten them down. That way you get them all into the holes that they need to be in there, because if not, you're going to fight these side ones over here. Fight the urge to over tighten them, guys. Once you hit some resistance, stop on these outside ones. The inside ones you can torque those down a little bit. Alright, so let me show you how it came out. So that gasket fit pretty good. You can see right there where I seamed it together. And then it's gone. So we're good. So now there's no gap. Beautiful down there. It's perfect. That's what I wanted. Nice and sealed up. Now this, excuse me, this is just foam tape. I bought this on eBay. I mean, you can find some that's waterproof, obviously better. I live in San Diego, we don't get a whole lot of water. I don't know how long this stuff will last. You get some with rubber, even better. I know they do make some. This is just what I had on hand with me. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to replace this high brake lamp, cargo lamp as well. Got a new one. Got it on Amazon. Looks like it has just a plug here. It does come with a gasket. And it comes with these two little washer things. I don't know if it's for this to hold the screws on here or something. So we're going to go ahead and take this off. We are going to have to clean the area right here to mount the gasket on there. So you want to make sure to use some rubbing alcohol when you're doing that, or any kind of a degreaser. I'm using rubbing alcohol. I'm going to go ahead and just unscrew these. This is an LED, so it's got its own bulbs. So all we got to do is unplug it from here. So you want to make sure. Lightly lift up on the tab as you're pulling out, because you don't want to break anything. Now this has a gasket here. This one has a foam gasket. So we're going to have to remove this one. And it might just fall apart. This is so old that's on here. Now usually for something like that, I like to use some sort of a plastic scraper. Don't want to scratch the paint. I have plastic razor blades, which not everybody's going to have. And these are really good to take stuff like this off. I mean, if you have any kind of a plastic tool, maybe you can, plastic type of scraper, probably be ideal. I don't know what else you could really use on there. You don't want to really use a razor blade, but like a regular razor blade. These seals, they're so old that they've been on there. Truck was made. Now maybe your gasket comes right off. This one did not. I've had this off a couple times and the gasket looked like it was going to be a pain to remove. Now these are made by Scrape Right. They're plastic razor blades. I'm going to take a little bit of rubbing alcohol and clean all the way around here, and then I'm going to mount it to the light. Okay, so once we have it, once we have the tape off of here, we'll go ahead and go through here. Try to line that up. And then press it down. All the way around. So it sticks to the back of that. Next step, go and grab your plug. They should just plug right in. Snap it there. Tuck that in there. Gotta go on the back side. When you push this through, put that rubber little thing on there to hold the screw in there for you. Do the same thing on the other side. Push the screw in and then grab a little washer. Kind of push it on there. And now what that does is just holds the screw so that if you have it upside down, it's not going to fall out. And this definitely, you're going to want to screw these down by hand. What's up? Turn the cargo lamp on first. Oops, that's the cargo lamps. There's the brake light. Perfect. Alright. Well, that does it for today. If you have any questions, hit me up. Thanks for watching.